Respected colleagues, the militarization of the Nigerian electoral process and the inconsistent application of electoral laws by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. Mr. President, this motion is sponsored by myself and co-sponsored by Senator Maho Ohabuwa, Samuel Anyanwu, Ahmed Ogembe, Obina Ogba, Matthew Rogede, Clifford Odia, and the minority leader of the Senate, Senator Biodun Olujimi. Mr. President, my colleagues, the Senate, conscious of the need to grow our nascent democracy through the institutionalization of procedures, applications of civil laws, and restriction of excessive use of military force in civil affairs of the state. Mr. President, the Senate is aware of the growing militarization of our nation's electoral process and the inconsistent application of electoral laws by the institution umpire, the INEC, especially as witnessed in the recent national elections 2019, where the presence of the use of extreme military force akin to a war campaign was applied in electoral polling stations and the declaration of inconclusive elections as a term. My respected colleagues, being used inconsistently and partially at the whims and caprices of electoral officers in occasions that appear solidly as similar cases. My respected colleagues, the Senate is concerned that the extreme militarization of democratic electoral process and the inconsistent application of electoral laws by INEC in matters of national elections pose serious threat to our democracy and has security implications that must be nipped in the bud. Mr. President, the Senate is persuaded that the nation is on the edge of a precipice, and our democracy can be saved for future posterity if only we can build strong institutions that can operate within established laws and with our military forces restricted to the traditional role of defending the nation. The Senate accordingly resolved to 1. Condemn the massive use of military forces in national electoral process of the nation. 2. Urge the INEC to ensure the unrestricted and consistent application of all electoral laws without bias to a candidate or party in all elections. 3. Direct the Senate Committee on INEC to investigate all perceived inconsistent application of electoral laws by INEC in the 2019 elections. And 4. Urge the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to give assent to the recent amendment to the Electoral Act to ensure a level playing field and adoption of equal standards in all our national elections for a strong and peaceful democracy in Nigeria. Mr. President, we are all Nigerians. We live in Nigeria. What I saw happened in my own state, Kogi. Mr. President, calls for amelioration. Mr. President, the ADC to my governor, the night before the elections of the 9th of March, barricaded the entrance into Lokoja and personally, Mr. President, personally led over 200 armed men, some of whom are not authentic army and policemen, and stopped many politicians from getting access to the state. And every VIP that had a policeman with him was disarmed and the policemen arrested by the ADC to the governor of Kogi State. And as a result of this, the former governor of the state, his policemen were withdrawn and arrested, and Alhaji Ibrahim Idris had to turn back to Abuja. The same thing happened to Senator Ogembe. The same thing happened to a member of the House of Reps, Honorable Kabiru. When I saw this happening to them, Mr. President, I had to consult the Celestial and got to my village through Celestial means. Mr. President, as we can also see that on the 23rd, when we were having the House of Assembly and Governorship elections, this same ADC carried a rifle and led men pulling booth by pulling booth, snatching ballot boxes and shooting sporadically. Mr. President, this is not the democracy that Chief Obafemi Awolowo dreamt of. This is not the type of elections that Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe proposed to us when they started the journey of Nigeria. This is not the kind of Nigeria that Sardauna Ahmadu Bello, I'm sure, is turning in his grave in anger. That this is not the Nigeria of his dream. Mr. President, when I saw in Rivers military men and armies barricading and blocking the entrance of the INEC headquarters in Port Harcourt, stopping INEC officials who have finished collation in their local government from entering the premises of INEC for final collation, then I begin to wonder what kind of democracy we practice. It is more worrisome, Mr. President, that the number of lives lost in the 2019 elections is unprecedented in the history of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Even when the famous June 12 election was annulled, we did not lose lives in this magnitude. Will the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria keep quiet? How long, Mr. President, shall we continue in sin and ask grace to abound? I call on my colleagues this morning. It is not about PDP. It is not about APC. It is about Nigeria. Where is NPN today? Where is UPN? Where is NRC? Parties will come and go, Mr. President, but Nigeria will continue to remain an entity by the grace of the Almighty God. I want to call on us this morning to debate this issue dispassionately. Our brothers and sisters were killed by armed men. The bullets used in killing these people, including a lecturer who allowed himself to be used for national service in the conduct of this election, was killed in Rivers State. Youth corps members who swore allegiance to defend their country were killed during these elections. Mr. President, we cannot keep quiet in the face of obvious obscurity. In the midst of all this, Mr. President, it is pathetic that there is no presidential broadcast or statement from the leader of this country, who is also the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. This is a national calamity. We must, as a Senate, devise means to make sure that never in our history again will we conduct this type of militarized elections. The role of the Nigerian Army is very, very clear. If a policeman by the polling unit cannot carry a gun, what will a military man armed to the teeth, both original and fake military people. What will they be doing in INEC office? The home of one of the commissioners in Rivers State. We saw the video taken over by the military. They even entered his kitchen and arrested people indiscriminately. Nigeria is not a banana republic. If we're out of fear, or some of us here, out of our election being declared as inconclusive, refuse to speak, a day will come, our children will ask us, Daddy, you were a senator. Mommy, you were a senator. When Nigerian elections was getting bad, what did you say? What did you do? A word is enough for the wise. I so move.